Hello, everyone. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Hey, everyone. Sorry for a little bit of a delayed start to the stream right there, but thank you very much for hopping on. We're just having some technical issues that I'm trying to figure out, so just please be patient with me while I just run through and make sure everything is in order. We should be better right now. So let's just check and see. All right. So I just want to make sure that the sound is fine for everyone, and then that the music isn't too loud. I am experiencing a little bit of drop frames due to the network, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. We should be fine in regards to that. I see the new chat's working out as well. Hopefully it'll stay up and everything will be fine. But yeah, so tonight, well, first want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who hopped on the stream on Thursday. Just give me a second to adjust my camera a little bit. I want to say thank you to everyone who hopped on stream on Thursday to join with watching the Warcraft 3 Legacy Edition modded version of Final Fantasy RPG. Well, Final Fantasy Epic RPG. We had a lot of fun on stream trying to beat the Ultima Weapon, and we actually managed to do so. And now, I have to say, beating the Ultima Weapon on stream, I did say at the start of the stream I don't want to beat him with the cheat strat of like dying and then running back in, TPing to the closest spot and then running back in. But it kind of worked out. We only died a total of 2 times each, or 1 time each. So I don't think it's too bad. We'll definitely be trying again soon. Now, tonight won't be that night. Tonight I have other plans. I just wanted to have a little bit of a chat time, a little bit of a talk time to talk about some things that I think are really interesting. And tonight I wanted to talk a little bit more about um, I wanted to talk about ghost experiences. I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the viewers. I wanted to talk about your experiences. I wanted to talk about my experiences, but I also wanted to talk about some online experiences that I'm seeing. So just give me a second to switch this on. I have some background decorations over here. It's very weird. The camera is flipped. But yeah, I've got some new background decorations that I'm gonna put up soon. If all goes well, it's a little gift I received from someone. So yeah, let's get thrifty. So yeah, a little bit of a backstory into me as well. I really enjoy the paranormal and like occult happenings and stories and recollects and stuff like that. Some of my fondest memories are sharing ghost stories with other people on various occasions. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about some ghost encounters, and of course, I wanted to talk about some uh, some of your ghost encounters, but some of mine as well. And I wanted to check a little bit out on Reddit. I'm seeing some cool ghost pictures and ghost stories, so I'd love to pose the question off to you, of course. Do you believe in ghosts? So first things first, let's start it off by sounding off in chat, telling me, do you guys believe in ghosts? If you don't, could you tell me why you don't? And if you do you have any ghost experiences that you wanna share, that you'd like to share with us? I'm gonna post that over in the chats as well, so we can gather the input from everyone. Um, it seems that the chat fix that I'm using is working, so that's good. That's good news. I was worried about that because on last stream I was struggling to see all the people on chat. They were popping up, you know, dribs and drabs, but unfortunately, I was missing out on the Twitch chat, and I was missing out on the Kick chat entirely. Now I've put everything in one little place, so hopefully it'll fix itself out and kind of figure itself out and work well. Uh, just give me a second to get some more people, hopefully on stream with us, to join and chat and have some fun, and we can talk about some scary stories. In the meantime, I just want to check about the volume on the music. I'm trying out something with Spotify here. I'll probably link this in the description, the playlist that I'm using, just so that if you do like the ambience that I've added, that you can go listen to it yourself as well. Of course, I wanted to find out, do the viewers actually believe in ghosts? And it's interesting for me in terms of when we think about ghosts. Do we think about them in, you know, a literal sense? Like, is it a soul that's left behind? Is it some kind of energy that's been repeated? Because there's so many different types of ghostly apparitions that people talk about, and different types of encounters of these paranatural and paranormal kind of experiences. So I definitely want to. Uh, I see that the music is not playing. Give me a second to quickly sort that out. Um, is the music playing a little bit louder now? Sorry, I've got someone viewing that's not on the chats, but I think this should be better. And a lot of the, you know, previous viewers that we had tonight, unfortunately it's a Friday. I picked a Friday to stream. Who's stupid enough to do that? But I wanted to give it a try and see how Friday nights goes, because I'm not really too. Oh, let me just turn this down a little bit on my side. I'm not really too. Oh, it says the music is still not playing. Second. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of time always to play um, games, or to go on stream with work and everything like that. So I just wanted to, you know, test the water, see how the Friday night goes. Now I know it's a little sad, but I really wanted to give it a go and see how it goes. So if we have no one on chat, that's okay. I don't care. I'm still gonna do what I want to do in talk in terms of talking about the ghost stories and everything like that. But I also wanted to, you know, talk a little bit about my personal experiences with ghosts. But I want to give the opportunity for some more people to jump into to stream. Danica says, I do believe in ghosts. I actually went on a ghost bus tour once. We didn't really encounter anything, but it was amazing stories and super scary. I've been on no ghost bus tours as far as I understand. I've been on some, you know, some excursions with friends and mates where we were going to see some ghosts um, at our own risk, not with the guidance of a tour guide or anything like that. But it was funny. It was pretty fun as well. So in terms of ghost encounters and stuff like that, I think I'll start us off with just talking about my very first ghost encounter, I was about I would guesstimate about 5 or 6, maybe even 4. We were staying in this house in my hometown, and the house had oval windows, so we used to call it the Oval Vensterhuis, which just means oval window house in Afrikaans. And this house, to this day, I will never forget it. To this day, like all my mates, all my friends from the hometown and everything like that, they can like kind of recount the stories as well because they've seen similar things or had similar kind of experiences in that house. Now, of course, I was very very little, so it could be jotted down to an overactive imagination, some sort of hyping myself up to be a little bit scared about anything and everything, and maybe like just like misremembering because I have some vivid memories of some things that also happened in that house that I don't think are real. They might have been dreams or something like that, but some of the happenings were recurring to the point where I can't physically within myself deny that they happened. I definitely think they have happened. In some way, shape, or form. And that's the other thing about ghosts as well is I think people who have ghost experiences, those ghost experiences could be real for themselves. It might not necessarily be a physical manifestation or a physical happening that's tangible that we can see ourselves, but it might be a metaphysical or a transcendent kind of happening. So it could be something that came from beyond and only interacted with that singular person who saw it. That's why sometimes when people see ghosts and they try and record it, it might not be able to be captured. Some ghosts, I believe, can transcend that barrier and be physically manifesting for multiple people, or some of these ghosts can just show to one singular person. Now, a lot of times people conflate that and say, no, but that might be like schizophrenia or some kind of hallucination or something like that. And in some cases, sure, I don't want to discredit the idea that some ghost encounters might just be jotted off to an hallucination or some sort of like not really happening kind of thing. I don't know how to eloquate that in words or to describe that in words properly. But just give me a second. Yeah, so like I said, um, I think sometimes the ghosts are are manifesting on such a level that it's not necessarily um, something that everyone can observe. And also, ghosts can be sensed by certain people more easily than others. I firmly believe in that. I think that is 100% a factuality. So that's definitely something that we need to take into consideration when we're talking about ghosts. I Yeah, so as I was mentioning, back to the original story. So I was staying in this house, the oval window house. Um, it was on Stadt Street, number 7. So I always carry that number 7 with me, kind of as an unlucky number. I know that's pretty ironic because 7 is one of the luckier numbers, and it's also a divine number. It's a holy number. So 7 being a very very strong number in the numerology and everything like that. I always have a somewhat more negative connection with 7 than most people. A lot of people are like, "Oh, 7, it's the gambling number. It's God's number. It's 7 days in the week, stuff like that." Really cool. 7 is a great number, but I'm because of this happening, I'm a little bit jaded by 7 to say the least. So um, yeah, just give me a second here again. Sorry, I'm still busy figuring out all the technical things on my side, but hopefully things are going to sound a little bit better soon. I also had some issues with my microphone cutting out quite often, so hopefully that will be resolved now as well. If it's still cutting out, please feel free to let me know in the chat so I can just check the levels and adjust where I can. Do some tests myself. So Danica says some people believe by watching scary movies, and so it actually opens a door to these kinds of stuff. What's your opinion? Um, I think that I think that energies are definitely manifestable. So if you firmly believe or placebo yourself into the thought that a ghost kind of is there. I don't think it would manifest like a tolpo or something like that, but it you can definitely psych yourself out into believing that there's a ghost. And as they say, people's experiences are valid in many different shape, ways, and forms. So if you invite things in, obviously you'll make yourself more receptive. It's like a muscle that you have to train, and it's also muscle memory. So you'll, for instance, see um, you'll see more things the more you the more you try to see things, you'll probably start seeing things. And that's also why a lot of people with with like these ghost adventures and these paranormal investigations, they they might see things and they might react to things way quicker because their muscles are more trained, their perceptive skills are more trained to pick these kinds of things up. And we might, as the viewer, watch these things and go, "Oh, that's bullshit. I don't believe in that." Or, you just listen, you just heard a little stupid sound, and now you're overreacting like that. But because of the quantity and volume of engagements that they have with the paranormal and the supernatural, um, the more they're attuned to that. So they can pick up on it quicker, and they can also notice and notify much more easily. Now, I have to say, there are a bunch of frauds and phonies online, and I'm not going to name any names because I watch such a plethora of them. I even watch the phonies because I think it's, in the end, it's still good entertainment. And the reason why we're attracted to ghosts, for the most part, I think most people, is because of the entertainment value we find out of it. The kind of little adrenaline rush, the same way we would go to a roller coaster or go through a haunted house or go through parachuting or bungee jumping or something like that. It's a little adrenaline rush. It gives you a little bit of a boost and makes you feel that you can like take on a lot of things. So in terms of the experience and everything like that, I definitely think that if you train yourself more and more to be more receptive to it, then you can essentially invite ghosts or some sort of paranormal, paranatural entity into your life. However, I don't think it's necessarily as simple as just watching a scary movie with a demon in it or a ghost in it or something like that. Um, yeah, sure, it could plant the seed, and once you explore more, you might be more keen to see more ghostly apparitions and manifestations and figures of some kind. But at the same time, you could just be watching a ghost movie or a demon movie, and it's just a ghost or a demon movie. So I don't want to talk anyone up or scare anyone by talking about these things. ICC Warrior, thank you very much for joining, man. Really, really good to have you here. He says, I believe in ghosts. Well, yeah, obviously, I know you believe in ghosts. Um, I think a lot of people believe in ghosts, so it's really good to hear about more people believing in ghosts because we have a society of skeptics right now, because of the plethora of information we have available online, and because of the fact that we have such a wealth of easily accessible entertainment, knowledge, and all kinds of other information. It's very difficult to discern what's real and what's fake. And there would be a lot of fake. There would be a lot of real running around. I definitely think that there are some videos online that might be very very good proof, but the problem is because of the plethora of fake bullshit that's running around, it's really difficult to discern. Thank you very much, cuz I really appreciate you hopping into the stream and watching with me, and chatting with me. I would like to introduce you guys. So ICC Warrior is my cousin, staying in my hometown right now. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he's moved in the meantime, but he's had some wild experiences with the paranormal, the paranatural, and had a bunch of experiences with ghosts in the past. Now, of course, I think it's because of, like I mentioned earlier, being more attuned and more trained to sense ghostly apparitions, ghostly figures, or some kind of paranatural entity. Um, if you train the muscle, you will more easily recognize. A little story. I've completely derailed myself from the original story about the oval window. Um, just give me a second. I just want to the chat here. So like I said, yeah, I've kind of derailed myself from the oval window story, but getting back onto the story that I'm thinking of right now, um, when my cousin and I were very very young, we firmly believed that his house was also haunted. Now, once again, jotting that down to just being, overactive imagination, being a little kid that was very perceptive and quick to pick up on things. Um, ICC Warrior, I'm just going to switch over to YouTube. Sure thing, man. No stress. If you can watch on Twitch, YouTube, or Kick, I'm streaming on all three. I'm not promoting any single platform more than the others. I prefer working on YouTube just because I've been on the YouTube ecosystem for very, very long. But I'm trying out Twitch myself and getting used to that. Trying out Kick as well. I have to say, all three platforms have their benefits to some extent. So yeah, like I was saying, so my cousin and I, we kind of we had overactive imaginations. We were little ADHD kids running around and having a ton of fun, just being little menaces. But um, we had some experiences in his old house that he stayed with his parents, and in this house, of course, there were like instances. I don't know if I should tell everything, but there were some instances, like for instance, once we had some rats falling down the chimney and scurrying around, and I was like very like a frightening moment, not necessarily paranormal or paranatural, but it really it scared me. It was during the winter time. They just the fireplace was off, by the way. There was no fire in the fireplace, just as a preface. But yeah, so fireplace was on. Boom, rats fell down, or like it was like one or two rats. If I remember correctly, this is also like 30, well, no, 26, 27 years ago. No, I'm lying. 26, 25 years ago. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, or 6 years old. And I remember that. Yeah, Andre Weberroser, which is my cousin, by the way, says, you can tell them, and I still have that tapestry. So, yeah, this is the story I actually wanted to get to. So, um, they had this big mural esque tapestry. And it looks like it was kind of uh, made from yarn or wool or something like that. Um, and it depicted this little Holland scene with a little river, with a little bridge thing going on. I'm just trying to patch the details of my memory, and it had some people looking like they were working in the fields or something like that. And this tapestry, when we were very very young, we actually we heard it make noises, and once we heard that, it kind of opened the floodgates for our imaginations to run wild. Um, yeah, it's made of wool. It's made of wool. So we heard this thing make some like weird eerie noises, and we used to sleep like we called it a Christmas bed. So we used to sleep on the bed in the living room, just to put a mattress down on the floor, and the three of us, myself and my two cousins, um, we used to sleep there in front when our parents were like hanging out and everything like that. But also, I would sleep over a lot. We used to hang out a lot as kids, and like I said, this tapestry, it made some creepy sounds, and I can't describe the sounds. It does like um, if I were to think about it. Sorry, my English is failing me tonight. Um, from to think about it, the tapestry sounded like it was wood creaking. Now, of course, it did have a wooden frame and a wooden backboard, so it could be due to weather conditions or temperature. It could be like an outset or an inset or something of the kind that caused this tapestry to shift and move, and that forced it to um, warp in some way, and that would cause some sounds. But as soon as we started hearing the sounds, we actually, looked at it, a little scared as kids. And in the darkness, we saw the tapestry's figures move. And to this day, we recount the story quite a lot. Um, whenever we hang out and we talk about ghost stories, we talk about this incident where the tapestry was actually moving, and it looked like the little boat that was on the river was sailing down this Holland River. Now, it creeped me out, and to this day, I think the tapestry is haunted. Um, I have, in the meantime, not seen the tapestry much, except for the one time I went to my hometown to visit, and the tapestry, it still gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't want to be around it, so I get a really bad sense from it. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm the most well attuned for these kinds of things, but my mother was very, very well tuned. Um, as we say in the Afrikaner culture, she was born with a helm, which basically means that she had like great foresight, could see into the future or stuff like that, or people said that they could see into the future if they were born like that. And also, it was a case of she was very, very quick to pick up on bad energy, and she, to some extent, not the widest extent, to some extent, she could sense when there was parasocial or paranormal kind of entities in the vicinity. Now, back to the oval window house story. Now, the first encounter that I had with ghosts was I actually was laying in bed. I was about 5 years old. I was laying in bed and I had a bed a room that was connected to the hallway in the middle. My parents were staying on the corner side, so kind of at the end of the hall. At the very end was the bathroom and the toilet. Actually, just the toilet and my sister's room. They were kind of adjacent to one another, and then across from my room, across the hall, was the bathroom. That's about layout wise what I could share, and I would see every morning that I would wake up before 6. I would see a figure walking from my parents' bedroom to the living room side, and at first you'd say, "Oh, that's just one of your parents." So, in full context, it was a male figure, and they were wearing some sort of corduroy jacket and pants, brown, kind of like a wood brown, almost an oakish kind of brown. Um, and I saw this person walk, or well, I call it person. I saw this person walk from my parents' room to the living room, and the first time I saw this was over a weekend. It was like a Saturday or something like that. I didn't have school, or I was in kindergarten back then, so I didn't have school on this Saturday. And I woke up and I saw this man walking by, and to me, it kind of did look like my stepdad. It also had dark hair. It had some sort of facial hair. I couldn't really make out initially if it was a beard or just a mustache. To give you context, my stepdad has a mustache, very thick, porn mustache kind of looking thing. And I was like, okay, might just be my stepdad. So I gave it another 2 3 minutes of laying in the bed awake, because when you're that young, you don't really do the napping thing. You kind of wake up and you're ready to go. So I laid in bed for another 2 3 minutes, got up and ran to my parents' room, thinking that I would find my mother laying alone in bed. I was affixed and still staring at the hallway. And I remember when I saw this figure, I kind of had a moment of awkward hesitation. I didn't feel threatened or scared or anything, but I did feel like I don't want to engage with this person or this being. So I ran into my parents' bedroom, and lo and behold, my mother was in bed as predicted, but my stepdad was in bed as well, sleeping. And both of them were out cold. Now, reflecting back on that, maybe some cuckoldry kind of situation. I don't know. I won't write that off until the next thing happened. A few days later, I wake up again, basically the next weekend. Also on the Saturday, I wake up at like 5:45. I would wake up very early in the mornings and kind of tug my parents out of bed and be like, "Hey, could you help me switch on the TV? I'm not one of the iPad kids, or well, I wasn't one of the iPad kids back then, um, so I couldn't really switch on the TV on my own, and my parents were very lazy to help me try and switch it on. It was one of those box TVs that you had to press the buttons to get it to start. You couldn't really start it with a remote or anything like that, so it was interesting to say the least. And running to ask them to go switch the television set on, I see this man again. As a well, before I got up to run to do that, as part of my morning ritual, I saw this man again walking by, and he had a very firm stride. It wasn't like a jog or anything like that. It wasn't like a slow walk. It was more so. It was like a decent pace moving by, and it didn't look like he was walking. It was more so looking like he was floating. Um, I didn't ever see the bottom of his legs or his feet or anything like that. I would always gather like see him from in a laying position, looking down uh, at him, and his legs, the bottom of his legs under his knees would always be cut off by the foot of my bed. So I never saw this man like fully, and I would see him multiple times while staying in that house. Up until the day we moved out in 2003, I was about 9 at that point. So for a good 3 to 4 years, I was seeing this guy every single weekend almost. Um, I would see him quite often um, during the holidays. On like a Monday, Tuesday, I'd see him as well. There weren't specific days I would see him, but there were some days that I would definitely not see him. So I would never see him on a Sunday. I've tried checking. I remember I was waiting because back then it's like getting woken up for church. You're like, okay, I have to go to church. Um, so I can't really watch television. So I was never really keen on waking up. But a couple of times that I did wake up early for Sundays, I never saw the man. So I do know he wasn't um, a Sunday kind of guy, if you want to put it that way. And multiple times after he would move past, I would run to my parents' bedroom and try and see are they awake or something like that. Is it my stepdad? And multiple times my stepdad was just you know laying there fast asleep. My mom was laying there fast asleep, and I had a moment or an incident where I decided to follow the man instead, or the figure instead. And this moment wasn't really, it was very anticlimactic because I saw him move past. I went to follow like shortly after, like about 10 seconds after. I got up, I built up the courage, and this was probably about the 15th or 16th time I saw him. I built up the courage, jumped up, ran out, and tried to follow, and not a single door in the house was open. There was no one in the living room. There was no one in the kitchen. There was no one in the dining room. Um, all the doors were locked. All the windows were locked. So either this person, if it was a person, had a key, and he would, enter and exit the house at will and be very quick and very silent about it. Because I did that once, and then I tried it again a couple of visits later. I tried it again, and same thing happened. Tried going out a bit earlier, and ja. Wolfhond. Hey Louis, how you doing, bro? Ik jij remote. Ja, ik verstaan wat je van mij remote. Um, no, I'm just busy telling a bit about some ghost encounters that I've had in the past. Um, and yeah, so essentially, I saw this figure multiple times, and it creeped me out to no end. But at one point, I was just like, okay, it's kind of normal. 'Cause I didn't feel threatened. Like I said, I didn't feel threatened. I did feel kind of an imposing energy that was a bit, a bit much, a bit difficult to work with. In terms of like, I didn't really want to follow him, but I wanted to find out what the hell was going on. Curious minds of a child, and at the same time, I also, I'm looking back on it now, and I kind of want to know. I kind of want to know what's going on. By the way, say hi to my cat, Chubby. She's I think it's Chubby. Yeah, Chubby. She's running around in the room right now. Um, so yeah, I had this experience, and then a few years later, I would say a few years later, this is probably, oh, she's climbing on the chair now. Yeah, a few years later, I was just at the end of high school or at the start of university. Um, like grade 11 to first year, somewhere in that range. And my mother told a story to one of her friends. We were at a little braai, um, like a little get together with some friends they had from school who were friends with my um, the lady was tutoring my sister, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. Let's just quickly read chat and I'll tell the rest of the story. Wolfman says, I have had one. Did not see anything, but my Marilyn Manson painting got thrown across the room multiple times. Wow. What the hell happened, dude? I'd love to hear more. Tell me more in chat. I'll try and interlace that story with mine as well, because that's interesting. So you say that you saw the painting get thrown around. What kind of painting? What did the painting look like, or anything like that? Um, and also tell me a little bit more about, like, did you feel any presence or anything like that, or was it just the painting that flew off the wall? Um, Rose Leo 20. Hi, how are you? Thanks for the follow, by the way, Rose. Appreciate that. Nice. So, Job, you doing well as well. Do you stream daily? No, I don't stream daily. So yeah, I do stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm trying to stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then if all goes well, hopefully I can stream on Fridays or Saturdays, depending on the day. So, anyways, Wolfont, while I'm waiting for you to tell me more about your story, because I'm actually interested to hear more about this. So, my mom recounted the story to her friend where I was probably about 4 or 5, and once again in the oval window house, and she mentioned that I stood up, like I was busy playing with toys or something like that. I got up, very very still, very stoic, walked to the door that she was like in full view. We had a sliding patio door. I opened the door and I turned to my mother and I asked her, "Aren't you going to greet the man?" After a few seconds of silence, and she just like sat there, and she told me that she had like a very big sense of danger, of something horrifying happening, and she was entirely creeped out. She told me the story. I have goosebumps right now as I recount this, because she told this to her friend as well, and we were sitting there drinking wine and just relaxing. And immediately when she told the story, the entire mood of the night got super tense, and we kept on telling ghost stories until early hours of the morning. Um, and that was pretty intense, pretty intense. Um, I have to say that I don't remember that incident very well, but I do remember the recounting from my mother, and she had no reason to lie about that or reason to make anything up. She started off with that story and kind of um, kind of a topic that she just got in her head, and I don't know, I can't even remember how we got to the topic, but it was just that moment. It was very very wild and vivid in my imagination, oh well, in my memory. um so yeah, Rose, not bad but nice. Do you play games in your streams? Yes, I do play games sometimes, not all the times. Tonight I'll probably not be playing games, depending on how I feel about it. um I will I will have a little bit of material that I'm going to pop up soon. We're going to watch some scary videos and talk about some scary recounts as well on stream. Hopefully, if all goes well. But yeah. So right now, I'm not planning on playing games tonight, but I do play games. If you check some of my previous streams, you might see some of my gaming content there. Uh, Andre says, lol, that door broke my nose. Which door again? Is it the oval window door? Because I know it also chipped my sister's tooth. She fell down on the patio or the veranda, whatever you want to fucking call it. So she fell down, chipped her tooth right in half, and she's never looked the same since. She's looked like a little gremlin ever since. Well, she looked like a little gremlin before, because she was only like 3 or 4 years old when she chipped her tooth. But yeah, Volfont, a basic canvas. Yes, I felt the presence of something. Also had an eerie feeling one night back in the day at band rooms. For reference, guys, so band rooms, Volfont's mentioning the band rooms, which is where we used to band practice together. Volfont and I used to be in a band together. If the guitars over there are any indication, I still play, but I'm pretty shit at it. Um, and yeah, so you say that you felt a presence of something when the canvas flew around, of Marilyn Manson. Now, do you think it was related to Marilyn Manson? Was it the canvas that had a haunting presence, or was it the household? Um, I would love to hear more about that. In terms of the Yeah, I would love to hear more about the presence that you felt. Was it a presence that that was lingering around before you had the canvas? How long did you have the canvas? Tell me a little bit more about that. Um, Andre says oval window house. Yeah, okay, that oval window house was mad. I had another friend that he actually. So for context, once again, so in between the closet and the wall, there was a little gap. I would say the gap's probably about a tennis ball's thickness. So that would be 6 to 7 centimeters or something like that. I don't know the imperial for all you fucking Americans that are watching. Probably none, but for you Americans watching, I don't know what that's in imperial. Probably like what 2.5 inches, 3 inches, um, and that hole was always dark, always dark. I never saw any light like penetrate the darkness, and at night times you would hear weird noises in there. Now it sounded like low growls or some kind of um, animalistic sounds from there. You'd hear like I can't I don't think I'll be able to reproduce it, but it was kind of like a kind of um, creepy kind of sound, and this sound was like it was much. I had friends. My one friend who was also the neighbor. Um, his name is Renier. Ik ben Renier, and he came over. You know, very regularly. We would sleep over at my place, and we would always. When he was over, he would always note that and be like, "Oh, those sounds, they creep him out." And same thing happened with my other friend Leon. He also recounted the sounds. Now I don't know if he would remember that still. We've kind of like distanced ourselves. We haven't really spoken in many years, but back in the day, whenever we would chat about ghosts or paranormal, he'd always bring that up. And yeah, that little pocket there was always very loaded with bad energies. Turtle Wax says Skogronde. Yeah, Skogronde was where the band rooms were, the showgrounds, and yeah, we had some great memories. I'd love to hear more about any ghost encounters at the Skogronde or the band rooms, as they call them. I had some, I would say, more creepy moments where it was like I'm walking alone and then I see like someone. And I think it's like a burglar or a robber or some kind of bad guy in the night. I never had the feeling where I was like creeped out, kind of ooh paranormally or something like that. But yeah, Chaos. Hey, yeah, how you doing, bro? Thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate the support, my man. Hope you enjoy the chats. We're talking about ghosts, ghost encounters. I'm sharing some of my stories. Hopefully, some of you guys in chat can tell me about your stories as well. I'd love to talk about that, and maybe we can look at some videos afterwards or some ghost stories online to talk about as well. Andre says, "Do you remember the lady in her dress at the house in Panorama after when Stefan and his family came to visit?" So yeah, that's another insane story that I have now. Reflecting back on that, it's actually a story that I was going to get to tonight. So um, hopefully I'll remember by the time I get there. Let me in the meantime look at some of the other stories here, and then I'll get back to that story. It wasn't a lady; it was actually a little. It looked like a little girl, but there were some encounters in regards to that. Actually, three encounters, and that's actually where I got the title from the for the video because I kind of almost shat myself. So let's quickly check here. Volfont says household. My grandpa died in the room where the canvas flew around. I honestly think he does not like Manson. On the band rooms thing, it was one night when communication failed us, and no one said we were not practicing that night. Well, that night I saw something in the band room opposite to ours. It was a black figure holding a book. Wow, dude, that's a bit creepy. I'm laughing now out of sheer awkwardness because I didn't experience anything like that. but that is wild. Give me a second to fucking process that. So you say that there was something in which side was it? Was it the new band guys, or was it Como and them Spandrum? Which one of the two was it? Um, I'd love to hear. Let me know, and then I can maybe think a little bit more about that. So Turtlewax says, "I've never seen spirits myself. Just the Kimberly Ghost Tour guide who played a CD of Vietnam noises. I don't know. I was six. That's the shit, dude. Is a lot of people don't believe in ghosts because they they kind of see the Ghostbusters tour, and then the facade, the story kind of crumbles because they're telling us these stupid stupid stories about some stupid ghost from somewhere made up, and some stupid tale that was made up, or they would take like real figures and kind of inflate the truth. And a lot of times these stories would just they would crumble super easily. You'd see like the CD player, you'd see the CD player, or you would see the guy with his makeup on somewhere where you weren't supposed to be. So that was pretty rough. Um, Turtlewax says Skogronde, creepy as fuck, crackheads and junkies laying in the sides. More thriller vibes from this encounters. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the freaking thing. Like, um, I like I said, I saw like crackheads and junkie kind of guys at the showgrounds a lot. And I saw like some very scaly individuals just fucking bungling about. And that was creepy, dude. That was bad. Oh, I don't like that. Because the problem is, and I saw was it a movie or a video or something I saw recently where someone said, I don't fear the ghosts, I fear people because people are unpredictable. Um, and same with like supernatural kind of creatures. And I think they mentioned that in the show Supernatural itself as well. Where it's like people are the scariest thing you can find. If you go into the woods, right, and you find a skinwalker, let's say. Um, by the way, P.S. That might be some foreshadowing for something I might do in the future. If you find a skinwalker or a Wendigo or Bigfoot or anything like that, you kind of know what you're working with because there are some pre-established rules or pre-established mannerisms or natures that you can kind of pick up on. Um, Not that I'm saying we know them. I don't know any of the folk tales or how to work with it, but you definitely see these things coming through, and you're like, okay, this is this is manageable. I can deal with that to some extent. It's creepy. I'm shitting myself, but it's manageable. You see a ghost to some extent, it's manageable. But you see a person, you don't know if you're gonna get a friend, or you're gonna get assaulted, or you're gonna get robbed, you're gonna get murdered, something like that. You don't know, and that's the problem with people. So Andre says, yeah. I'm assuming that's in regards to the oval window house story, and the Stefan story. So I will tell about that a little bit later on. Turtlewax says, "What the poos? I didn't know this at Volfont." Um, Once again, for reference, Turtlewax, Volfont brothers. Um, but yeah, it's strange to me that that it's specifically that canvas that flew. That means that the canvas might have some opposing energy that was somehow linked. Um, Maybe bringing that into the house triggered some kind of other spiritual or paranormal or energetic energy to release, and that could have caused the incident. You said that the canvas flew around. How did it fly around? Was it like flung from the wall and then darted to the other side of the room, or did it actually maintain some levitation or maintain some airtime? Because that's one thing that I've seen a couple of times. It's very very rare to see um, you know objects float or levitate or maintain some sort of aerial momentum. But at the same time, it's more common to see things being flung around, and I have another story about that I can bring up later on. Wolfen says, Como side, don't know what they were into, man, but that creeped me out. Interesting. Interesting that Como and those oaks. Was it Como and Keegan and a couple other oaks. I can't remember everyone's names. Um, that's strange, man. That's strange. I didn't expect that. I've been in that band room multiple times. I've drunk there. I've partied there. You know, um, I've had like physical incidents, like violent incidents in that band room, but I've never had any paranormal or parasocial, um, supernatural kind of incidents before. So that's pretty interesting to know. Andre says, our old house in Panorama, I had that incident with a black figure in the sunroom after my parents' divorce. Yeah, I won't get into that incident on stream tonight, though. I don't remember all the details that well, and I don't want to paraphrase while I'm busy talking shit. So I will definitely, if you want to tell me more about that, you can maybe even bring you on stream some point. You can tell people about that incident. Maybe we can do um, a little interview if you'd like. That would be pretty cool. Chaos says, when I stayed on the family farm, I slept next to a morgue. Interesting. Interesting. Now, did you experience anything about the morgue, or what's the layout? Was the morgue like adjacent to the house on the farm? Is the morgue like further away? Is it like a different building or something like that? Tell me a little bit more about that. For context as well, so Andre, my cousin, like I mentioned, his dad actually worked as I don't know what the correct term for it is, but it's like a mortician kind of thing. He actually helped with preparing bodies for a funeral home. Sorry, my English is failing me tonight. For a funeral home, and he actually prepared my mother's body when she passed away. So, pretty topical that you're bringing up mortuaries and morgues here. Turtle Wax says, "Dang, that is cock deep, bro. The fearing people thing. Legit, I feel sometimes people can be delusional. Yeah, and unpredictable. That's the thing. It's the unpredictable nature. You never know what you're going to get from humans. Um, you know, ghosts, like I said, it's very, very rare to find ghostly encounters that turn physical, turn violent in some kind of nature. It's like some sort of visual or some sort of auditory. In very few cases, it might be a physical thing where they touch you, but it's very rarely where it's like, they're gonna rip my hand off or stab me or something like that. Um, never to that extent. So Volfont says, flung from the wall. I put it back. It sounds like someone taking the painting and throwing it to the ground. It only happened in the flat and not in house since. So you say it only happened once and it flung from the wall. Now, like I said, I'm not going to try and be a skeptic. Was it perhaps, you know, um, when it was flung from the wall, did it fly across the room or did it just, move a little distance? It could be badly hung. That is something that could happen. I'm not trying to disprove here, just asking questions because I'd like to know more and figure out, is this a thing that happened? That's, you know, a physical manifestation or some sort of mental manifestation from yourself. So I'd love to hear more. Did it fly across the room? If it flew across the room, then we've got some serious fucking questions here. We've got some serious questions. Now, Turtlewax says that canvas was painted by a friend at West Art Gallery. Now, I'm actually going to check up West Art Gallery. Give me a second. I don't know if I'm going to find the right one. Um, at West Art Gallery, is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? Tell me more about where they are at in terms of their socials. Maybe I can pull them up and we can look at some of their paintings to see the eeriness levels or to see if they might be involved in some sort of occult or something like that. So Turtleback says he isn't a bad guy. He is my best friend. Um, hmm. I don't know the reference, um, but I will definitely tell me more about that. I'm a little lost now in terms of that. Turtlewax says, what the fuck? Oh, morgue, Andre, that's creepy as fuck." Andre says, "Funeral home and state mortuary." Turtlewax says, "Sorry, bro, about your mom. My mom had breast cancer, but luckily survived." All good, bro. No stress. It's been like 11 years. It's all good. Wounds have healed. There's no issues about that or anything like that. But yeah, dude, it's like 2014, many years ago. Also died from cancer. Well, died from cancer. Had a colon cancer that developed and moved into her upper intestines, and then it went into remission. And then while it went into remission, they kind of celebrated too early, and it didn't fully resolve, and it started actually taking over her liver, and that led to liver failure, internal poisoning, and she passed away from that, unfortunately. But yeah, no, like I said, it's been very long. It's just for me. It's interesting to note that my uncle was the one who prepared her body for burial. That's something like I have a very morbid family. It's kind of like the Adams family, but worse. Well, that's fucking hyperbole. I'm so sorry about that. It's not like the Adams family, but worse. It's like the Adams family, but less worse. If that makes sense. Um, Turtleback says the flat might be haunted. My dad's mum and dad lived here. She hated my mum. Now that's one thing that we need to take in consideration is the generational kind of resentment, kind of generational trauma that gets passed down in between households. It usually happens with like households that get passed down through a family. So that's something that's very interesting to note, and something that we definitely have to consider as well. Is why do these hauntings take place? Is it something that happened in the household? Is it an energy that was left behind? Is it kind of here's another theory. Before I get into that, let's quickly just go through chat to get all of that. Um, okay, so it's West Art Gallery on Instagram. Let's see if we can pull that up. Don't give me leave. I'm getting food hand delivered. This is amazing. Let's check out West Art Gallery. Give me just a second to pull this up. His name is Ethan West on Instagram. Seeing some weird Wests here. No, dude, you're gonna have to fucking get me the link of his Instagram or something like that. I am way too fucking shit at googling people right now. Anyways, so Turtlewax says West is my best friend. Okay, that makes sense. Since grade 8, I'm now 20. He is swatting quantum engineering. He sounds like a nerd. Um, although he might not be a psycho or a bit of a fucking nut job like myself. So that's cool. Andre says he prepared our grandfather too. Yeah, my uncle prepared my grandfather, and if that's the case, well, he's no longer associated with the mortuary or the morgue, but I definitely think that at some point he might have to prepare like one of us. We'll have to be very fucking careful about that. Um, so Turtlewax says, like I mentioned earlier, his name is Ethan West on Instagram. I do not have any socials except YouTube, Discord, and WhatsApp. Um, yeah, maybe you can ask him to shoot us his deets through WhatsApp or some shit like that, and you can just send it to me or send it to Louis, and he can actually pop it over to me, and we can open it up on stream. I'd love to see some of his art. KSWB via. So the house was used as the Chance's Rip room for burial, and my grandpa closed the room after something happened in the room. And all the tools were still in the room. It was just boarded up. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. That's rough. Now, is it a multi-storied farmhouse, or is it like all flat layout? So for those of you guys watching from outside of the country, um, in South Africa, most of our houses or you know houses are single story, flat layout. So we don't have things. We don't really have basements that often. We also don't really have second stories that often either. Although that's a bit more common, but basements are like basically non-existent in South Africa. So that's definitely something to take in consideration. If there was a basement kind of room that was boarded up, that'd be pretty freaking creepy. Turtleback says, "Phone on 1%. Sorry, gotta go. He is Irish. Don't worry, not Kanye West. Shout out to Kanye West. Peace out, bro." Wolfon says, "Cheers, my friend. Loving the stream, man. Thanks for the support, guys. I really appreciate. You guys are lying. You're not fucking going to because of the phone shit and whatnot. You're going to go smoke some fucking kush, bro." But that's all good. That's all good. Thank you very much for hopping in and making some quick chats. I would love to retouch on the whole situation with the canvas, and of course with the household. I'd love to talk more about that at some point. Andre says, "Gotta go, cuz." Cheers, guys. Really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for hopping on, and sharing some of your stories and sharing some of our childhood stories as well. It's really appreciated. Now, I like I said, I wanted to hop on real quick and go through some ghost things on stream here as well. So just give me a second to quickly pop that open. Here we go. Andre says, "Now I have a raid that's launching in 10. Bro, you can put me on the background. Let me entertain you in the background. No, I'm kidding. But thank you very much for hopping on. I really appreciate all the amazing support. Okay, so we're on Reddit here. This is r/ghosts. I just quickly wanted to go through a couple of these and see what the vibes are like. So this user Tony the Tiger 2016, 8 days ago, posted, "Really creeped out. 3 years ago, this photo was taken. Never saw till now after finding on the floor of my child's room. What's in the background?" Let's look at this picture. What is in the background? Does seem to have some sort of shape here. It's a bit eerie. Let's see if okay, a bit closer. It kind of looks like a scarecrow. Um, it could be a doll of some kind as well. It does look placed though. It doesn't look like it's photoshopped in. So it may be, just maybe, and I'm not trying to debunk or anything here, but just maybe, this guy just set this thing up, forgot about it, and then came back to haunt him. Let's check here. Chaos says, "Flat farmhouse with a storing room in the roof. I have a ton of real ghost stories." Okay, a flat farmhouse with like a sort of an attic storage. Let's just pause here. I don't want to watch the video while I'm busy reading or thinking about this. So you say a flat farmhouse with storage in the roof. Like I said, so kind of like an attic kind of vibe. And you mentioned that you have a ton of real ghost stories. I'd love to hear more, dude. Share more. I would love to talk a little bit more about that, because the thing for me is I love ghost stories. I love hearing people's tales and their accounts of ghosts and stuff like that. So definitely interesting to listen to. User Playtendo64 looking for ghost footage from years ago. Saw some footage from, I believe, 2005 to 2010. A girl and a couple of her friends are just hanging out in the kitchen of one of the girls' homes. They're still sitting at what looks to be the kitchen table. The girl was filming from what I believe to be her phone at the time, maybe iPhone. She was filming what looked to be a ghostly figure sitting directly across the table from her, that was next to one of the friends. She nervously is giggling and telling her friends that there is a figure right next to them, but they can't see it. The figure also looks to be holding a smaller figure, like a toddler. Then she then nervously asks the figures to wave to the camera, and let's quickly just finish reading this. Um, and the smaller figure does wave. At the time, this was one of the creepiest realistic ghost footage I've seen. I thought I might have saw it on eBaum's World back then, but I am unable to find the video anywhere. Has anyone seen this footage or know if it's still out there? A couple of people saying that they know this, but I'm not seeing any links to it. So unfortunately, I think that video will be forgotten in the void. Stony Hemisphere King, best viewers on Stream Boo. Dude, come on, man. Let's not. Um, let us not do that. Put some rules up, just to ask people to not to not solicit. But clearly these bots don't get the picture. But that's okay. I don't mind. So let's just pull back in here. Okay, candle rocks back and forth before falling off table on its own. Let me just quickly check if I have volume here. We'll put the volume up to max, and hopefully we can watch this together. I'll put the volume up here as well. Okay. No volume. Okay. So the candle rocks back and forth before falling over on its own. Not really seeing any. Oh, there we go. That's too rigid of a motion. That's probably. I don't want to be a naysayer or a disbeliever, but that's probably just someone with some fishing line rocking it back and forth, probably tied to the tip, and it's pretty convenient that we can't see the top side here. Just check real quick. Give me a second. I just want to double check something.
The dogs are ready for bed.
Now we've frozen out. Just give me a minute to quickly reset here. Don't worry, we'll get back into it, guys. We'll get back into it. I promise we haven't lost the stream. Well, lost the thread. Luckily, I have everything here. Just still sorting out or like figuring out how to do all these cool little things on stream. Okay. Let's just double check, make sure everything's fine here. And we are back, as this one guy would say, with another Twitter thread. Just give me a sec. And there we go. Okay, so u/boring stop 9576 one day ago posted, my house is haunted. I can confirm that because I've experienced it myself. My mirror on the upstairs floor is haunted. It says things in the voice of someone in your family, deceased or alive. And our clock downstairs is haunted. It's stuck on 3 a.m. at all times, which is the exact time my great grandmother passed away. And last but not least, mirror in our upstairs bathroom mirror. The reflections move farther and farther away from you, even if you're standing in front of it. And I'm not the only one in my family who has seen it. All of my family has seen it, from my grandparents to my siblings. Now, once again, maybe this is real within their own account. At the same time, it sounds a little bit like satire, so I don't want to give it too much energy. The clock being stuck at 3 a.m. just sounds like put some new batteries in it. Having your grandmother passing away at exactly 3 a.m. is also a bit sus. So yeah, I don't think this is a real one, guys. We got a phony ghost story here. Phony ghost story alert. Zane Daniels, bro, what I miss? Dude, you haven't missed much. We just told some ghost stories so far, and now we're busy looking at some Reddit posts about ghost stories. Now, Zane, I gotta pose the question to you, bro. Do you believe in ghosts? I don't know within the Muslim faith how much ghost stories you guys have. You probably have like a lot of jinn stories and stuff like that. I don't want to be rude to assume, but if you have any ghost stories, I'd love to hear about them. Sound off in the comments and let me know about those. So you play Tendo. We just read that story about the old video that they're looking for. What do you guys think about this video? Let's check this video out together. It will just fucking load. It's a bit long though, so we might pause in between. No, it's not playing. So I'll just.
All right.
Yes, I do.
Oh, there it is.
All right, you really have a tape of a ghost?
Yes.
The loading is too bad right now, so we'll do that at another time. Okay, so Danny Fan 27 says updated. So basically, I took a picture of my living room in my dining room for the goofs and gaffs, and when I zoomed it, I saw that it might be my schizophrenia. Now, once again, we've got the schizophrenia kind of being used as a scapegoat. I'm not exactly sure what we're seeing. Oh, I see a face or some kind of facial figure here. I could be wrong. Yeah. So there's the face. I'm not really seeing the rest of the figure, but I do see some kind of face. Now, this could just be I don't know what that thing's called, but where you kind of your pattern recognition is kind of trained to identify facial features. So it could possibly be that, but I can't say for a fact. That does look very eerie. I have to say, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that gave me a little bit of a spine chill," but that might just be because it's an eerie looking picture. So then, user,
Dogs are
let's
ready.
just pause here. User excellent shock 4473. One day ago, ghost spirits can be removed permanently through spiritual liberation process. There are millions of ghosts stuck on the earth realm. Many died with incomplete desires and personal attachments. Some get murdered and have strong anger and vengeance. Spirits get caught in the time cycle of their death. Time does not change for them. There are many spirits still on Earth plane that died 100 to 300 years ago. Some have fear of living, being liberated into their afterlife journey. Garuma Shiva Baraksha, sorry if I butchered that pronunciation, can communicate with spirits. She also has advanced spiritual abilities to calm aggressive ghosts and to also liberate permanently those that are gracefully guided to leave. Now, this does sound kind of like an advert for Garuma. If it is, cool. I don't mind. But I think it's true what they say. The only thing that I'm questioning, and this is now just come to my mind now by thinking about this, is why do we only see ghosts from about 100 to 300 years ago? Why don't we see any ghosts from 1,000 years ago? You know, why don't we see a bunch of Sumerian and Mesopotamian ghosts running about, or Aztec and Mayan ghosts? Or when we do see them, are very few and far between. We see a lot of recent ghosts. So maybe it's because if it's a spirit, or spiritual well-being recently has gone down. It's become worse. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm actually gonna, before we watch this video, let's just watch this video, and then I'm quickly gonna BRB so I can have a quick bite to eat, and then we can get back into this. So what do you guys think about this video? Let's see.
The dogs are ready for bed. It's just a peaceful night here. Get ready to go to
I've
bed
seen this one
myself.
before.
What the fuck is that? What? Oh, God! Fuck!
Ooh, that one gave me a bit of chills. I don't know if you guys saw that, but as the dog got up, there's this figure here, and at one point, the figure just
That.
quickly moves.
What? Oh!
That's creepy. It could be staged, but that is very creepy. The fact that the dog reacted, the fact that the dog was laying flat first, just chilling, and then all of a sudden, you see the dog reacting. one thing my partner mentions is as long as the animals are relaxed, then you can kind of relax. As soon as the animals react, that's when you can start when you should be a little bit more creeped the fuck out. And in this case, having the animal
Go to bed
react here,
myself. What
you see his tail is up, so his tail's in kind of a,
the fuck is
I wouldn't say an aggressive pose, but it's definitely in an excited pose. As long as the tail's not wagging right now, so it does not look like this is a figure that it knows, from what I can see here. So I might be mad, but this video pretty pretty creepy. I'll give it an upvote there. Very
that? What? Oh!
that gave me a little bit of a fright there. So let's quickly go to the BRB screen. I will be back hopefully soon. In the meantime, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Um, your support's really appreciated. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. I will be back in a little bit, and then we'll continue where we left off.
them is our cause. We will travel across the land, dueling far and wide, playing meta to understand the power that's inside. DVD, losing to Dragon Link, we know it's our destiny. DVD, coming second every time, it's our team's ancestry. With our attack group, we know it's true. No one can beat us unless it's in the finals. And with all of our skills combined, we'll be earning our titles as the greatest second raters they ever did see. And that's why they'll call us DVD. Losing to Dragon Link, we know it's our destiny. DVD.
We're in a time boost. Order Eisbein and a fucking Lachhaber.
And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for the guys sticking around and hanging out and waiting for me to finish my meal. Thank you very much for your patience. In the meantime, we were still looking at this video, and I went back and forth and watched it basically on repeat the whole time. Just gonna quickly put that down a little bit. All right, so let's watch this video a little bit again. Um, just one more time. I don't know if I'm like getting the goosebumps because it's it's scary, um, or maybe it's just because of a reaction and the dog's reaction. It could lead to it being, you know, a bit freaky. So moving on, we've seen the candle video that sucks. Yesterday, I went to my mom's house to clean out some things, and left as soon as I got home. I got a motion alert from the back door camera. This is what showed up at her place. She passed away 3 weeks ago. Um, let's see here. Oh, okay. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it looks like there's a figure moving. And I mean, it just looks like some dust or maybe a stray streetlight that could potentially cause that. So maybe that is like a some sort of energy moving by, but it's definitely, I don't think it's ghostly. It doesn't look ghostly. Could be though, but yeah. Looking back at my pictures of Bowles Hole, and is this a ghost? Okay, so we see some deer. I don't really see where the ghost is he's referring to in the first image. Let's go to the next one. Still not seeing anything. There, it seems to be some sort of head poking up, but I can't say for a fact if that's a ghost. That could just be a person sitting in the in the room. I don't think that's a ghost. User Kenzie62 says this is a picture of my grandmother. It looks like a picture of a man to the left of her. She passed away shortly after this picture. It does kind of look like there is a figure behind her, but that could just be due to, you know, maybe the background curtain or something like that, or it could be some overexposure or something. But that is, it is an ominous looking picture, and the fact that she passed away shortly after, interesting. Although the credibility, I'm not sure. Let's check this one. My garage camera caught this 2 nights ago. So black, like almost a shadow like thing moving about. I think that could just be a strange aspect ratio or overexposure of some kind, and that's just a bug that's moving over it. Maybe it's a uh, weird shutter speed or something, a weird aperture. I'm not too familiar with all the camera terms, but yeah, something that just looks like a little insect, maybe a cockroach or an ant or something that moved across the lens. I should definitely set these things to not autoplay. But let's check. What do you think? An accident victim, maybe? Pareidolia. Oh, okay. Now that's a bit more creepy, but at the same time, this could just be some kind of smoke or something like that. It could be, just imposed. The quality isn't the greatest. Yeah, the quality isn't the greatest. So I can't say for a fact, but this is definitely one that's a bit on the creepier side. Um, so user significant name 3858 says, I don't know how this works, lol, so bear with me. I'm trying to get this picture to whom posted it in here, but I am new and don't know how things work. So this is the picture. I think we've seen this one earlier. Yeah, so it looks like just a door in the background. That does make sense. Fair enough. Let's check this one. Watch as the can spins and moves across the bar. Let's check the can spinning and moving across the bar. Ooh, that is interesting. So far, it doesn't look too ghostly. I think I know what's going on. But let's see. If it moves more erratically, moves further away, then it might be something else. Okay. Show of hands. Who the hell hasn't been drinking a lot? Because that happens quite often. Um, when you're sitting at the bar, you put your drink down, and then the condensation happens underneath, and the can or bottle just moves ever so slowly uh, down if there's a slope or something like that, um, down to where it's most flat. So I have seen this happen before IRL. This this is just bullshit. It's not real. Okay. User UWXNDERLXN. Was it Wonderlexen? I don't know how to pronounce that. Weird shadow in hallway looks like a demon. Is this undeniable evidence? Um, hmm. Okay. Creepy little shadow. Shadow's not there anymore. Now, what I hate is if you look at one of these and then there's something chilling where the shadow wasn't. But I'm not seeing anything. So it is a creepy little shadow. I'll give him that. Kind of looks like a Smeagol or something. But I don't know if that shadow is really doing its business. Checked out the Whaley House today and the rest of Old Town. Give me a second. Oh, shit. I've been doing all of this without sharing the screen. Oh, nincompoop me. That's all good. So sorry for everyone who's been trying to keep up, and I've been not showing the screen. Silly me, silly me. I'm a daft little one sometimes. But now we should be able to see everything. Let me just pull up chat again. Okay, so let's just go back and watch these again. Unfortunately, now the bite's been taken out of it. So we looked at the candle video. Just skip to where it's moving. You see it's moving. It looks like there's a piece of string attached to it. So, that sucks. This one with the kind of ghost orb thing moving across the screen looks kind of just like some lights that are moving. Perhaps I wouldn't necessarily call that a ghost. Unfortunately, I had to refresh there, so we might have lost some things here. Let's just quickly check through. I think I know what it is, but my friend's camera caught this. Says it is. What do you guys think? Oh, I'm thinking he's referring to, is it a ghost? No, that's probably just a very bright flashlight. Ghost at the Forum, 5 a.m. around April 5th in Northeast Missouri. Okay. Some sort of green floating figure could be. Hmm. Could that be? It could be some kind of. I don't want to say an aurora borealis or something like that, but could be some kind of aurora. But this is more in line with what's possible in terms of the footage being captured. How do I adjust my camera editor to see a spirit? I think that's just some questions. Um, this one, I think we did check on the previous. But yeah, so there's a facial figure here, and it's just showing like the face. I don't think this body outline that it's drawing in is real there, but I definitely saw the face. Um, I just saw this on TikTok and can't explain it. Sorry, but what did I just record? Okay, strange sound. Does look like the closet door is moving. It looks very spooked out. Wait, what? The okay. That's creepy. And now it's gone. What the fuck? And then, of course, getting jump scared by TikTok at the end. These indentations here. I don't know if we can change the playback speed. You see them slowly happening. That is very, very strange. I don't know how to explain that. We've seen that one before. We can read that one shortly. Looking back at my pictures of Bowles Hall and is this a ghost? So this one I checked. Mentioned there looks like to be some sort of head in the window. And then he takes a closer picture here, but it's just someone sitting in the room. That's not a ghost. We can watch this one soon as well. This is the one I was mentioning with the strange camera angle that just probably had a bug that moved across the lens. That's definitely just an insect moving across it. Then we had this woman. This was the original, and this is just some AI used to clean it up, and yeah, it kind of looks like a door of some kind. Give me a second. Okay, I'm not seeing any of the others, the other posts. So let's roll it back a little bit, and you're not that far back. We'll roll it back to Undertakers of Reddit. What's your best workplace stories? Posted by NeroSpicy90S 3 days ago. I'll go first. Buckle in. This is a long one. I was a funeral director between 2015 and 2021, and when I first joined, I was told that the branch I worked at was haunted. I am a believer, but won't accept something as paranormal until I've run out of logical explanations. I saw and heard a lot of things there, but the two that stick out to me happened within a month of each other. One evening, I was the only living person in the funeral home. I was sat at the front desk inputting first call, the initial contact we have to let us know a family is thinking of using us for their loved one, onto our system. I began to hear knocking coming from behind me. Now, bear in mind, my branch had commercial shops either side, but this was different than the usual hustle and bustle of sounds. It was very clear and distinctive knocking coming from our house mortuary. I got up to check if some funeral service crew had let themselves in through the back to perhaps to bring in a new deceased person to rest with us. No, the back door was closed and no one was in there. While I was in the mortuary, I hadn't heard any knocking, so I decided to make sure no one was playing tricks on me. I deadbolted the back door and set the alarm system for the mortuary, going back out to my front desk. The second my butt touched the chair, bang, bang, bang. This point, it's around 4:40 p.m. and I just want to go home. So this is like afternoonish. Okay, interesting, interesting. It didn't happen in the middle of the night, which is pretty cool. I stand up and go to the door of the mortuary. I ask if anyone is there, nothing. Then I start to hear the sound of someone walking around on the tiled floor, but the alarm doesn't trip. I put my ear to the door to get a better idea of what I'm hearing, and I feel a physical bang against the wood. It made me jump and was the first time I had a genuine hair standing up on the back of my neck reaction. The rest of my shift was spent firmly planted at my desk, ignoring the various knocks and bangs from the back. A few weeks later, I was filing some archived funeral arrangements in the storeroom just next to the mortuary. That room was apparently known for being haunted by an apparition known as Head and Shoulders. Head and Shoulders. Okay. Weird. Quite literally, it was said to appear as the top half of a man's body that was seen moving around in that room and the adjoining hallway that led to the staff bathrooms. Needless to say, there's a certain level of vulnerability in going to the toilet with a spirit wandering around nearby, so many of our staff refused to go in there. I had never seen the spirit, and believe me, I looked. Now, on this occasion, I wasn't looking for Head and Shoulders, I was just filing paperwork, mumbling to myself about having some annual leave denied. I hear the bathroom door open and close. This was one of those old doors that is weighted to swing closed by itself, which basically means that door will not open on its own. I paused and listened. Nothing. Deciding to have a peek through the window in the door leading to the bathrooms and in the unlit corridor, I thought I could make out a person at the other end. Maybe a funeral service crew member had nipped in before and I just didn't notice. But the person wasn't moving at all. So I made the very gullible decision to lean into the window and cup my hands around my face to get the best possible view without entering the corridor. Now I could see the entire corridor and I realized this person is a shadow of the top half of a torso and a head. Ooh, okay. That's weird. I'm completely convinced that not only is the spirit intelligent, but has a wicked sense of humor, because not more than 2 seconds after I came to my realization of what I'm seeing, does it launch itself towards the door window. Ooh, shit, okay. I got such a fright from this thing being at the far end of the hallway 1 second to all but body slamming the door. I ended up on my backside shouting more than a few profanities. My colleague came through to see what my shouting was about, and then I told him what just happened. His response was, "You finally saw him then." Wow. Yeah, I would have shit myself. I would have shit myself. As Silver says, fuck that, I would have quit there and then. Yeah, that's creepy. That is creepy. Especially the fact that it like flung itself at the person. Neurospicy, shame man. that's rough. I wonder if my uncle has some of these stories while he was working in the mortuary. I would definitely have to ask him at some point if we pick up and get in touch again. What's the most common and not so common belief superstitions that you have heard since childhood that kind of turned out to be real, especially paranormal superstitions? Um, the Dark Tempter. So there's 11 comments. Let's see. This is what some of the comments say. So portals, ghosts are real, demons are real, don't use a Ouija board, never leave mirrors facing a bed. Um, never leave mirrors facing a bed. Now, I'm getting goosebumps from this because we have a mirror facing our bed, and I used to be terrified of sleeping in front of mirrors. I really hated when the mirrors were like, just chilling there and looking at me. It was very, very unpleasant. Um, but I kind of got over that when I was staying in Bloemfontein at the university. I actually I had large open windows that didn't have curtains or curtain railings, so I couldn't really cover myself up. And the closet as well had um, a giant mirror on it. So I kind of got used to like sleeping with a mirror facing the bed, and I don't think, um, well, it's not that big a deal for me right now. But interesting. I can't say it's an absolute fact that some supernatural things will happen. However, many people have expressed discomfort or feeling as if they're being watched from mirrors. Whether it's some ancient defense memory or psychological effects, it's widespread. That's true. Chaos, welcome back, bro. I see you're laughing. Yeah, probably laughing at me letting stream run for quite a while without realizing, oh shit, I didn't switch over to the video. So Miss Sassafras says jinxing. I have times when I'm just talking and we all get frustrated. I carelessly say something flippant, and there's a tiny ding inside that just tells me I've jinxed myself. I always find something. Uh, I always find something wood to knock on. Oh, I always find something wood to knock on. It was so ingrained in me by my granny not to speak ill of people or circumstances that I feel like I'm putting bad karma on myself. This is kind of true. It links to one of my previous videos about latching on to good vibrations, good vibes, good thoughts, and the little good things that happen. Always latch onto those. But yeah, same thing happens when you talk ill. When you talk ill of yourself. Um, Being from the deep south is weird. There's lots of random rules. Don't sit your purse on the floor. Don't step over fallen brooms. Salt or brick dust across doorways. Horseshoes above the doors. Jesus faces north. Elephants face east. Broken mirrors are 7 years bad luck. Bird in your house is a bad omen. Itchy hands are significant. Left, you lose money. Right, you're getting money. Ringing in your ears means something in the other side. Someone in the other side is talking about you. Cover all mirrors and open doors and windows after death. That one I've heard very, very many times. Spilled salt always goes over your left shoulder. Birds singing at night means spirits are lurking around. Bottle trees were important in my granny's eyes. Now, where we stay, we actually have, some close by trees, and I can often hear birds starting to chirp like super early in the morning, like 3 a.m. I mean, sometimes even 2 a.m. I can sometimes hear them if I'm sitting out front in the living room. Intel Growl Prof VH. Hey, loving your streams. Can help grow your Kick channel with 1,500 real followers, 100 live streams. Okay, cool, man. I'm not really interested, but thank you so much for your words on that. Um, yeah, you'd think Granny was some witchy lady, but she was a debutante Southern belle raised in the circus. Now, debutante is a word I haven't heard in very long. It's also a word I don't think I've seen too many times in my life. So if I'm mispronouncing it, cool. That's okay. All her superstitions are borrowed from other cultures, so I'm guessing she picked them up in her youth, working with people from all over in the circus. I definitely want to get into superstitions at some point. I'll definitely do a stream on superstitions. I have a lot of weird superstitions. I used to be very superstitious growing up, but in recent times, I've started slowly but surely unlearning and de-learning myself from these habits. Grouchy Vet says, my mother had a few, never rock an empty rocking chair, never put new shoes on the table or they'll hurt your feet when you wear them. The first person to enter your house on New Year's has to be a dark haired male. As soon as the clock struck 12, she'd shove my father out the back door and then let him in the front door. When someone is dying, you have to open the window. Um, Interesting. I've never heard of the dark haired male superstition around New Year's. I will have to look into that. Hopefully, I will remember. I'll probably won't, but I would like to look into that. That's pretty interesting. The shoes thing, I have a similar superstition about the shoes, so definitely would talk about that. The rocking chair, I've heard before a little bit. The open window, I've heard. I've also heard to leave the front door open as well as the back door, but I'm not sure which um, from various different sources. And then the last one, life can sniff the money in your pocket. Okay, interesting. Let's. What do you guys think about this video? What's the backstory? Let's watch this next one together. Okay, seems to be a hospital of some kind. And what the hell is? Okay, okay, that's weird. Definitely have to check some comments on that. But that looks like uh, I'm not sure. It kind of looks like the guy from Amnesia, the monster from Amnesia. It kind of looks like that. But what's strange is it's like completely translucent here. At one point there. Well, it looks like it's completely translucent. There, it kind of looks transparent almost. I at first thought, oh, it's just transparent. And then when it did that movement, that was pretty creepy. But let's check what some of the comments say. I definitely want to give this one an upvote. Pretty interesting. Living Dead, I don't know, but it makes me uncomfortable. I agree it's unhealthy, but the history of this place interests me. I'll do some research and I'll tell you what happens. I'm not going to read all the threads. I saw this on Nukes many years ago. Still freaks me out. The uncanny rocking motion is very unsettling, equally scary if a ghost or a person. That's true. Um, this video was recorded at a hospital in Honduras. I was living there at the time when this came out. It was all over the news nationwide. There's the original video. I'm not going to go into that right now. Why the fuck would the video end just as the person came into view? Yeah, I think who was recording got scared and ran away. I'm not going to open random links while streaming. Maybe something bad comes up. I'm glad I'm safe here in the comment section. That's true. Okay, that's an interesting one. Majestic City says, have you ever played the Ouija board? What happened while you were playing it? That's something I still want to do. Is I still want to play with a Ouija board. I know I said at the start that you shouldn't really invite things in, and Ouija board's one of those attunement tools that I think invites. It's more so inviting than watching a horror movie or some kind of scary movie to some degree. So yeah, I think I definitely want to try it, but when would be the question? And I would not do it in my own house. I would never do it in my own house. Primeline31 says, some people say that playing with a Ouija board is like lighting a candle in the dark that's visible to who or whatever is in that other dimension. There is no way to know if something harmless or potentially harmful will be attracted to it. Years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I'm 71, my father and I sat and used it at the kitchen table one evening. My dad decided to let me ask the questions as I wanted to play. I asked it if anyone was there. The planchette moved to yes. I asked, were you ever alive? The planchette moved to yes. Okay, this was getting interesting. I asked, what is your name? The planchette moved to W and stayed there. When were you born? I asked. The planchette then spelled out September 4th. And at that point, my dad and I just looked at each other and decided to put the board away back in the basement. I had a brother who had and lost his life at the age of 12 to cystic fibrosis when I was 15. His name was Walter, and his birthday was September 4th. I'm glad that he was the one to be attracted to the board and not something else, though. I haven't played it since. Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Let's check. Bromline has another story here. Another related story. Our mother worked very hard to keep my brother alive. Back in the 50s and 60s, treatment for cystic fibrosis were very rudimentary at best, and all physical therapy had to be done manually. There were no compression vests then to loosen congestion, and the dietary supplements were minimal. Every cold was like getting pneumonia. I remember once waking up and finding a tall oxygen tank in my parents' bedroom. It was delivered in the middle of the night while we kids were sleeping a short distance away. My two brothers shared a room, and this time Walter slept in with our parents so they could monitor him. My mother passed away 40 years after my brother. When we had the funeral, one of our old neighbors who came with her son, a childhood friend of my brother, told us that he had a dream about my brother for the first time in decades the night my mother died. This son is now a medical doctor, a certified anesthe- anesthesiologist. Anesthesiologist. I will not live that pronunciation down. The night my mother passed, he had a dream with Walter in it. In his dream, he asked him why he was here, and Walter told him, I'm here to take my mother home. 2 or 3 days after, my sister called his mom with the news. She called her son, and he told her of his dream he had the night she died. Maybe there are guardian angels. Hmm, interesting. Now, um, it is getting on in time, so I wanna tell one last story um, of a ghost encounter that I also had, um, and this story is kind of a uh, do you watch Shadow? Chaos asks. Uh, what kind of Shadow? I don't think I've watched Shadow or a series called Shadow. I've watched What We Do in the Shadows, if you're asking that, but I'm not familiar with Shadow. So, the story I wanted to talk about a couple of years back now, I say a couple of years back, it's probably like more than a decade ago. I was we moved into this house and I was staying with my parents. I was about 12, no, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. We just moved into this new house that was close to my grand's, still in my hometown. And my uncle and his family came to visit us. And like Andre mentioned earlier in the stream, um, we we have this story about my uncle Stefan. Now, Uncle Stefan and his family came to visit us when we stayed in this new house, and we kind of let me just give me a second here. We kind of you know didn't really get too well along. My uncle is a bit of a religious kind of guy, and all power to him. He's actually not that bad a guy. He's pretty nice. A little bit arrogant, in my opinion. Well off in terms of money and stuff like that. We were always the poorer family, so we had a little bit of familial resentment. Um, but he's not bad. He's actually a very very nice guy. His family are very friendly. I think he's um, practicing. He's a practicing pastor or preacher of some kind here in South Africa, and he's actually pretty cool. So I don't have anything bad to say about him, but I do have to say um, this scenario kind of puts him in a bad light. So I just want to preface by saying I don't have any ill will or ill wishes to him. This is just something that happened to me. So, like I mentioned, him and his family came to visit. So, for context, he has his wife, and then he has three children. One is his wife's daughter that she had from a previous marriage or a previous relationship or something like that. And then he has the two younger cousins, or well, a daughter and a son, and they're much much younger, but they're blood related to him. And I have my sister at that time was almost the same age, just a little bit older than the two youngest, and the older cousin um, that's from my uncle's wife's side, we were about the same age, Like we differ with 1 year, and we're all hanging out at the house, chatting a little bit. I'm not really too involved because I'm the weird kid. I don't want to be chatting with them too much, and I'm not really hanging out with my cousin either. So, just leave them be. But in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping in the living room. We have this massive door, massive window in the living room with a glass door and everything, like big, and goes out into this sort of under roof situation going on. And in the middle of the night, I wake up and I stare over into the backyard because this window has like full view of the backyard. And I'm looking into the backyard, and next to this very, very large tree we had, I was very close to the house. I in my days I saw this little girl. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps while telling this. I saw this little girl dressed in not necessarily all white, but in a very lightly colored frock, or little dress of some kind. I would say little girl. I meant like she was probably 4 or 5 years old. Definitely not in her teens. Definitely younger than that. But I saw her standing there, um, off to the right side of the tree stump, and um, I was, obviously stunned. I sat there and I was freaking out and getting, a bit more freaked out as it went along. And I remember firmly that she tilted her head to the side slightly, and you could see her face. I wouldn't say contorting, but she was pulling a face, um, and it was almost to the extent of a grin of some kind. I wouldn't necessarily call it a smile. There were no teeth shown, but she didn't look like she was in any kind of aggression or aggressive kind of uh, face shape, or anything like that. But it looked, in the moment, it was ominous and foreboding and kind of threatening. So I saw this girl and I was like freaking the fuck out. So I went back to sleep. I was like praying. I'm not really a big religious kind of guy, but I was praying. I was holding onto my blanket. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm at this point, like I said, I was like 14, 15 years old. So I'm freaking the hell out. And wake up the next morning, nothing happened. The rest of the cousins were also sleeping in the living room. Um, they had like a big inflatable mattress there. They were sleeping there. So everything was chilled, woke up, no problems. They only stayed the one night, and then they went to go stay over my grand's. And although we were staying very close together, they went to go sleep at her place. Move forward a couple of months, like 2, 3 months, probably more, like 4 months. Um, my uncle comes and visits again, and once again with the entire family. And I don't really like when they come to visit. Back then, I didn't really like when they came to visit because I always had to put things away. Like I had to put my toys away, or I had to put posters away that I had up, or I had to not play my games because they're too violent and they're demonic. And I wasn't really listening to what I'm listening to now that much. I wasn't listening to like hard death metal and stuff like that. Um, but I was listening to like rock and like hardcore metal and heavy metal and stuff like that. Um, so they didn't really mesh well with me because of their religious persecution and not persecution, their religious convictions. We didn't really mesh very well. So when they come, I'm like always, I don't wanna have them over. And so they came again quite shortly after. I think this was probably like something in the range of like 4 or 5 months, maybe even like 7, 8 months later. But it wasn't a full year later. It was definitely within the span of a year after this first incident. So they came over, and this time we were all sleeping in the living room again. All the cousins were sleeping in the living room, and I was sleeping on the couch. The first story, I was sleeping basically on the floor with like 3 couch cushions laid out. I was sleeping on that. But at this point in time, I was too long, too tall, to sleep on these 3 couch cushions. So I just slept on the couch entirely. The previous time they visited, we had the 2 little cousins sleeping on the couch, and then my cousin and my sister were sleeping on the inflatable mattress. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong about those specifics. But so as I was mentioning, now this second visit, I'm sleeping on the couch. I get up in the middle of the night, probably like I'd say around about 1, 2 a.m. And I was busy on my phone. We had a chat app called Mixit. Shout out to Mixit. If you remember Mixit, drop it down in the chat. But yeah, so I was chatting on Mixit with some girls. Ooh, I was chatting with some girls on Mixit, trying to get my Mac on, and um, I I kind of just went to the kitchen. I got myself a cup of coffee. I very strange kid, so I was drinking coffee in the middle of the night before going to sleep, and I went back into the living room, and this time my two younger cousins, they were sleeping on the inflatable mattress. My sister wasn't around, I think, for this visit, and then the older cousin was sleeping on an old military bed that we had that we put in the living room as well. So she was sleeping on there with a mattress, and then we had the two cousins on the inflatable, and in between the two cousins there was a third head, um, that I could only see from like the crown of the head, and it was dark hair, and then the head started turning, and as it turned I could see like a very pale forehead. I couldn't see past the eyes, it was like covered by the covers, but this little head was sleeping in between my cousins, or laying in between my two cousins, and they were fast asleep. Like I said, this was like 1, 2 a.m. And so this head twists around, and it just like I see this pale forehead and these eyes, and the eyes I couldn't really make out that well. Definition was very difficult because it was dark. It was very dark. Um, but I had my phone with me, and I had the kitchen light still on because I was still drinking my cup of coffee, and I was gonna take my coffee back to the kitchen, my cup back to the kitchen after I was done. So I was gonna sit on the couch and like chill on my phone, while I drink my coffee, and I freaked the fuck out. So I went, okay, screw this. I backed up with coffee and phone in hand. I backed up all the way to the kitchen, maintaining focus on the living room door, and I just moved back. And I stood in the kitchen until 7 a.m. in the morning, upright with the lights on, affixed, not checking my phone, not checking like the cup I even had in my hand. Because I held the cup, I finished the coffee, I had the cup. I held that cup until my uncle came out and asked me, do I want some more coffee? And I was like, uh, I was kind of stunned. I was kind of lost for words. And yeah, everyone started getting up. And as soon as I started seeing my cousins get out of the living room, I was like, okay, uh, at least nobody died. That was good. But that, freaked me out because now I see this little girl twice. This is my second encounter with her. So I'm like, shit. I don't, I don't want to be here when they're here because it's only happened when they came. It's never happened before. Only in those two situations. Um, then, so the story continues. It's not even over yet. Um, so the next time my uncle comes to visit, I think, nah, screw this. I'm not interested because I don't want to. I don't want to tempt fate. I've now seen it twice happen, and it feels like she's progressively getting closer. Whatever this entity or spirit is, or a paranormal supernatural being is. So I saw it, outside first. Now it's already inside the house. Fuck that. Is about as simple as I can state it. And I decided to phone up my friend Leon that I mentioned earlier in the stream. I phoned him up. I was like, "Hey, dude, my uncle is coming to visit again. I want to sleep over at your place. Is that fine?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, dude, no stress." We used to hang out like quite often, and we would sleep, over at his place, or he'd sleep over at mine, or we'd go to a friend's place that was close by, and we just vibe. We just hang out. And just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I had a nosy cat that didn't want to leave the room and kept on scratching at the door. I don't want to have her damage the door. But anyway, so as I was saying, so I phoned up my buddy Leon and I was like, hey, bro, can I come sleep over? And he's like, yeah, sure, dude, no stress. And I go sleep over at his place for the whole weekend. Because my uncle, this is also the first time that he decided to stay over for quite a long time. Because the first two incidents, it was like a one-night stay. Now they're deciding to stay for an entire long weekend. So that's 3 entire nights of staying. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. I don't wanna be involved. Luckily, my parents, no issues. They're like, yeah, sure, you can go. They know, they knew back then I didn't really mesh well with my uncle and his family. Once again, like disclaimer, I don't hate my uncle. I don't mind him. I think he's actually a pretty nice guy. So all things considered, very cool. But yeah, so I go sleep over at my friend's place. After the weekend's over, I get back home, no issues. I asked my parents how things were. Oh, all good, all good. And I think, okay, great. I've either dodged the bullet or I've broken this curse, if you want to call it that. And I'm like, I'm feeling top of the world right now. And almost a year goes by, I don't see them, and I'm kind of forgetting these things happen. But I did mention to my mom once in passing, I did tell her about the first two situations, the first two encounters. And of course, my mom said, she also gets like this eerie feeling when they're around, when they come to visit. But, she rather wants them to visit so that she can, talk with them and make sure they're protected and everything like that. But anyways, so now they come for another visit. And this time it was for another single day visit. And of course, I kind of forget the story, so I don't really think about it that much. But I tell my parents I don't want to sleep in the living room. I just had this kind of vibe, this eerie vibe, and then I thought, oh shit, I actually remember what happened last time. So let me just sleep in the bedroom, at my parents' foot of the bed. Fuck, English is hard. So I was sleeping at the foot of the bed of my parents' bedroom, on the floor. I had like a sleeping bag and maybe a couple of like couch pillows. I can't remember exactly where I had like a rollout mattress or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I'm laying there. I'm playing on my mom's flip phone. I remember that though. And she had this old, very shitty silver flip phone with a little antenna aerial thingy. It was pretty cool. So I'm playing on this thing, and I hear a dripping sound. This is once again late at night, probably around like just past midnight, 1 o'clock. Oddly enough, not around witching hour. I didn't have any of the experiences happen around the witching hour. Like the first experience I would rate was probably, like I said, well, I don't know if I mentioned this, but probably around 1, 2 a.m. The second incident, 1, 2 a.m. as well. And then now this third incident, but fourth visit was around about midnight to 1 a.m. And I'm hearing this dripping sound coming from one of the bathrooms. Now, we had 2 bathrooms. One was ensuite with my parents' room, and the other was in the hallway that was open access to everyone. And right next to my parents' bedroom, across from the hallway bathroom, was my sister's room, and next to that was my room. And in my sister's room was my cousin, and in my room was my uncle and his wife. And we're chilling, but I'm hearing the sound. I go out to check if all the taps are closed. So I go to the public bathroom. Public bathroom, the communal bathroom in the house. And I go check to see if there's any goings on. And my uncle comes out as well, and he's like, "Hey, are you also hearing this dripping?" Of course, speaking in Afrikaans, but so he's asking me, "Do you hear this dripping?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do actually. I just got up to try and get it sorted because I'm the only one that's awake, and now he's awake as well." So both of us standing there and looking at each other like a little confused. Dripping, not something that's common in that household. We didn't hear dripping quite often. I don't think I've ever heard dripping in that house except for when I was washing dishes or something. And I check all the taps in the bathroom, no issues. So I go to the ensuite, I check, no issues. And I go back to the bed, and I'm thinking, okay, it might be dripping outside from like the water bowl tap outside. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, I'm not gonna like brave the outside right now to just close a tap. Fuck that. I'll sleep through it. And all of a sudden, I hear this dripping sound intensify, I would say. It kind of like amplified in terms of sound. And I see a figure in the ensuite bathroom as I, drop my vision down. Because I'm laying like on my back with this flip phone playing now, thinking, fuck it, I don't. And I just drop my vision down like below where I'm busy checking the phone, and I see this figure standing in the bathroom. And I'm freaking out now. Because now I see this, I say figure, and as I like adjust my vision and I clear my eyes out, I see it's this girl. And I see her there standing in the bathroom, just looking at me. And she's not moving. She's not doing the head tilt. She's not doing any motions or of any kind. And I'm frozen, paralyzed almost with fear. And I know it's not sleep paralysis because I was literally busy on the phone as this is happening. And I still have the phone above me. So I'm in a position where if something were to happen with me, my hands are not at the ready. I'm kind of at the mercy of whatever the fuck's going on. And I'm freaking out. And I'm like, okay, shit, this is horrifying. I'm like goosebumps and flustered entirely. And I can't even remember exactly what happened next. But next thing I know, I'm, hands to the sides, and the phone is, in my hand, still on, still doing what I was busy with, but I'm like still dead set staring at this at the doorway of the bathroom, the ensuite, and I'm not seeing anything. Like it's like it vanished, but at the same time, like there was a time skip. I had like a time skip happening. So from here to having my hands on my arms and hands at my sides, and all of a sudden this girl is gone, and I'm just in awe, sitting there, shocked, freaked the fuck out. And yeah, that's basically what happened in terms of my scariest ghost encounter, because I felt a sense of pure panic and dread. I felt overwhelmed, overrun by this moment. And the next morning, so I was laying there essentially the whole night, frozen in fear. And I got up as soon as I could. Once I started hearing my parents, rustling about, trying to get up for the day, I didn't want to move until I started hearing other people moving around in the house. And as soon as my mom got up, I basically jumped into her arms, and I was like I was a mess. I was like in tears and crying and freaking the fuck out. And I just told her, listen, I had this moment, I had this experience. And she actually brought it up with my uncle, I believe, because she would speak with my uncle quite often and regularly about me being a little bit of a weird kid. But she spoke with him about it. We didn't really have mediation or some kind of common grounds, but she spoke with him, and he just told her, no, the kid's crazy, as they've told before, because my uncle, I used to have bad sleepwalking when I was younger, and my uncle actually told my mom that I probably had some sort of possession or some sort of ghost or demon or something that possessed me to sleepwalk. So he was religious like that in a weird way. but he was calling me the weird one for seeing a ghost. And I was freaked out entirely. And I never spent another weekend with them. I also refused to have them come sleep over, or to come stay at our house when they visit. I refused. I was like, no, I will rather go and stay with the friends, but I will never, sleep in the same house as his family. And I don't know who on the family it's clinged to, but there's definitely an entity or a spirit of some kind that's clung to my uncle. And yeah, that's my little tale. I I don't know if anyone has had similar experiences. I don't know if people within that family and within that household, within my uncle's household, have experienced something similar. I don't know what the root cause is because it only happened after we moved into that specific house. So maybe the energies aligned in such a way, but I'm not sure. I don't have all the details, and honestly, I'm grasping at straws for more details. It's been probably 15 years later, 15, 14 years later, after the last incident, and we've never slept in the same house again, as far as I can remember. And yeah, I'm still freaked out to this day. Like I said, I have no bad juju vibes with him, but I definitely am, hyper terrified of spending a night with them in the same house. So yeah, let me quickly check. Just want to check real quick. I've got some chats going on in the background as well. Yeah, so Viebe, if you're still there, Chaos, Viebe, if you're still there, please tell me more about Shadow. I've officially freaked myself the fuck out again by recounting that story. So I would love to hop onto someone else's story and talk about that. Let's talk about that. At the same time, oh, sorry about the noises. I keep on hitting my microphone tonight. Yeah, at the same time, I definitely wanna talk about some more situations and scenarios. I have a plethora of these ghost stories and encounters. Of course, some recounts and retellings of other people's situations and scenarios. The stories I shared tonight are my own stories that I've come up, um, through my own experiences. I've retold them many times, and stories that I've shared with many people. Some stories that are in tandem with other people, like my cousin Andre, like I mentioned at the start. So I definitely think that in this world there are spiritual beings, paranormal, whatever you may call it, supernatural. There are definitely creatures and beings that are beyond our understanding, beyond our comprehension. And I think with science moving the way it's moving, being ever the skeptic, um, it might not be a case of us ever finding out what's going on, what's happening. Will these ghost stories all just become more and more disproved, or will we find more evidence down the line as things progress and we find out, okay, um, there might be there might be ghosts, and they might be manifesting because of spiritual rubber banding, I would say. They're kind of stuck. They can't move away. They're elastic in that sense. The souls don't leave, or they can't leave due to various reasons. We don't know why. At the same time, and this is the other theory that I was thinking of, and that's like the theory that everything has a memory, or the hypothesis that everything has a memory. I should not be swinging the word theory around. Thanks the people watching my first stream. I should not be swinging the word theory around too much. But there's this hypothesis that says that every single thing, whether that be the walls, or this glass of cool drink, or your phone, or yourself, or your dog, or your cat, um, or someone else, or something else. Everything has a memory of some kind, um, and they're recorded. Like, these memories are recorded in, like, on a different, not on a different plane, but like in a very interesting way. It gets recorded. I don't know all the specifics about it. All I know is that there's this theory that everything has a memory. Now, obviously, at some point I might do a little bit of research on that, and we can do an entire video on that. But I think, out of like all of my experience, probably that's the most likely thing, is there's a memory of something that's reliving itself over and over again through some object that's close by. Maybe there's a memory within my uncle's family that's reliving itself when it's close by to me, during the evenings or something like that. Same with the person in the hole, the man in the hole. Could be a memory that's been reliving itself. Maybe that's, a previous resident of the or tenant of the household. That's something that could happen. Maybe that incident with the painting and the tapestry is a memory reliving itself. Now, how deep this goes, I don't know. The problem is, the only issue I have with this hypothesis is, why are we only experiencing memories like a certain amount of time back? Why aren't we experiencing hundreds of thousands of years ago in the same place? And people would say, yeah, but the same place has shifted. So maybe, like in the ocean, as like Pangea, or whatever the fuck you call it, as that broke apart, maybe where it used to be, there's a bunch of dinosaur ghosts, or ancient organism ghosts, just living about. Because the this theory kind of links with the idea of people mentioning things like ghost ships, or ghost trains, ghost cars, which obviously it's not a living being. It's not a living being. So why would a non-living being have a ghost of some kind? Why would it have a physical, or a hallucinatory, or some kind of ethereal reliving, if it's not a thing with a soul? You know. Same with like animals and stuff like that. I think animals do have souls, but some people say animals don't have souls. But then you sometimes get like animal ghosts happening. So it's very interesting. Chaos says, I'll send you the channel. I currently stay on a plot with 2 underground water lines. A well, the ground is rich with iron ore, and there's a graveyard close, and a grave under the water tank. Okay. Now, you mentioned the iron, and iron ore. That's pretty interesting, and as well the water line is pretty interesting. Would you suggest, Chaos, or would you theorize that the iron, the density of iron ore around you, has any impact on ghostly visages, or happenings, or spiritual apparitions, or stuff like that? Do you think that plays a factor in it? Because I do know a lot of people say, like, pure iron combats ghosts. If you watch Supernatural, you've seen that. But a lot of old books as well, and old superstitions about ghosts say, okay, you can beat a ghost with salt, or you can beat it with iron, or you can beat it with various different methods. So, do you think the iron ore plays an impact, or some kind of role in that, or um, or do you think that that's just a bunch of baloney and bullshit? I'd love to hear from you. Currently I stay on a plot with 2 underground water lines. The water lines as well. It's interesting. Does water have an impact on ghostly and apparitional happenings? Chaos also says, and I have a black cat that I'm assuming you're still typing on that, but having a black cat, I used to always be very I used to be very superstitious, like I mentioned previously, and black cats were one of those superstitious beings that I was just like, steer far clear. I have literally turned around and skipped out on like classes and stuff like that because I had a black cat passing my path. So I do have to say that with black cats, I was very, very scared of them or very cautious around them. However, moving forward, black cats, I kind of have gotten more used to them because my partner is very, very interested and very, very loved. Well, she loves cats a lot. So now if I see a black cat, I'd be like, that's awesome. I want to see a black cat. I want to play with a black cat because I like the cat. The superstitious element of black cats has kind of fallen away from me. Chaos says, I have a black cat that showed up on Halloween night. Now, this is actually something that I thought about as well, and that's the subculture or the cultural shift in Halloween. And of course, as South Africans, and some of you guys in chat who are also South African, Halloween is something we don't really celebrate. In many of the towns and cities in South Africa, we don't really celebrate Halloween. It's only mainly in the big cities that Halloween's celebrated, as well as in like the alcohol culture, in the bar culture. We have Halloween being celebrated by bars and clubs and stuff like that, and people will be like, "Hey, you can dress up." And of course, with the introduction or the bigger introduction of Halloween from media like film and TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that, we see Halloween much more. But growing up, I never even knew about Halloween. We never saw that. We never had like dress ups for Halloween. I didn't even know about parties for Halloween. And that was the way up until I was like first year in varsity. I got to, I wouldn't say a big city, but I got to the city, Bloemfontein. And there was the first time I ever heard about Halloween, apart from what I saw on TV. So it's interesting to think that Halloween, a lot of people associate so many superstitions and ghost stories with Halloween, and of course Halloween the scariest day in the year. But I don't find Halloween to be that scary. Now, Friday the 13th, I think, has way more merit in being a fucking terrifying day. But Halloween, I think it's interesting, but it's not necessarily the scariest kind of day. It has cool lore behind it, but I don't think there's a lot of merit to that lore. I could be wrong. But I would love to hear more about how I'm wrong about Halloween. Chaos says, she follows me all over and comes when I call her. Oh, okay. And what's her name? I would love to know your black kitty cat's name. Did you call her Midnight or Raven or Halloween? Tell me more about that, bro. Yeah. So, like I said, I think Friday the 13th has more merit as a supernatural, paranatural day. Now, I don't have a lot of specific days that carry any kind of paranatural relationship, but Friday the 13th, I know, in my opinion, I firmly believe that Friday the 13th has a lot of paranatural connotations to it. Reason for that is, of course, well, I say of course like everyone else is supposed to know this, but I don't think anyone else knows this. So when my mother was younger, she had like a couple of experiences that she told me about Friday the 13th. Two incidents happened to her on Friday the 13th, and I also had an incident happen to me on Friday the 13th many, many years back. I won't get into that incident, but the one incident, my mother was busy washing dishes with her brother, my uncle, who is my namesake as well, and they were washing dishes. They were home alone, and they had the back door open on Friday the 13th. And all of a sudden, a strange man, walked into the kitchen through the back door, proceeded to pull out a knife, and attempted to attack my uncle and my mother. Now, luckily, as this person was moving into the house, some of the neighbors saw this stranger, of course, very well connected back in those days. They saw this person go in and immediately chased after. So as the person, brandished the weapon, they immediately got tackled and to the ground. And my mother and uncle survived with no issues, no damage or injuries of any kind. This person was then, taken away and arrested, and never heard from again, as far as the story goes. A few years later, my mother and my uncle once again were staying in the house. This time in a different house, in my hometown, and it was Friday the 13th. My mother said she had like a weird feeling the whole day, and in the evening, like early evening, like probably late afternoon, early evening, 6 o'clock or so, she heard some rustling outside, and she didn't think much of it, but she did notify my uncle, and from there, my uncle was like, okay, he had a girl over, so he was, trying to get with the ladies, and let me just check here. Just give me 1 second. So while my uncle was trying to get with the ladies, um, my mother heard this rustling outside of her bedroom window. And like I said, it was early evening. It was like 6 o'clock or so. And then about an hour or two later, she mentioned she heard it again. And this time she heard like what sounded like keys jingling. And at this point, my uncle tried to call the police, but the phone lines were down, and they only had a landline. So my uncle and my mom at that time, they were both actually in the police force, if I'm not mistaken. I might be misremembering some of the details, but they were both in the police force at some point. I don't know if both of them were in the police force at that time, but I do know my mother was a police officer at that time, definitely. Um, so she was very, very cautious and wary, and she told my uncle, listen, because she went to him immediately, listen, there's someone outside. I hear the keys. And my uncle was like, okay, let's try to call. Phone line was cut or was down of some kind. I can't remember if it was like completely out of service, but they couldn't get through to anyone. So they decided to, pull out their guns. Well, my mother at least pulled out her pistol. And next thing they know, they started hearing someone, um, you know, trying to open the back door with what sounded like a key of some kind. And next thing, they heard like a big commotion. And once again, it was a situation of um, someone like saw this person, but also there were like two or three police officers outside tackling this guy. And they tackled this guy because what it turns out is this guy had a bundle of keys that he had for almost the entire neighborhood. It was like he was going around from like cleaning lady to cleaning lady, or gardener to gardener, and just collecting all the keys for every single house in this neighborhood. And he was systematically busy burgling and robbing every single house. And he already at that point had burgled three houses. With two of the houses were empty. One of the houses he actually assaulted the person inside, to the point where they were unconscious, and then he moved to the next one. How much of this details, I don't know exactly if everything was exactly recounted correctly, but that was the info that I would receive. And yeah, they got the person that was assaulted. They got contact with the police, and they actually had the police dispatched out. But it took a little bit of time. So what happened was, this was one of the neighbors, I think like backyard or something like that, and the sound my mother heard initially was this guy jumping into their yard, and he was inside the yard waiting inside one of the shrubs or bushes or something like that. And then once the coast was clear, a couple of like an hour or two later, um, he got out and he like was going through the keys. That's what my mother heard. She was hearing this guy going through the keys, fumbling through that to try and open up their back door. So if it wasn't for this other person, waking up, that guy would have probably been dead because, yeah, two people. Well, at least one person that's confirmed had a pistol ready to shoot this person. So yeah, that's Friday the 13th for you. My incident with Friday the 13th, I got into a little bit of a scary situation with a vagrant at the dam. I decided to sneak out on Friday the 13th with one of my friends, and we decided to go to the dam in my hometown. And on the dam wall, there's a little house, and yeah, we climbed into into this little. It wasn't a house per se. It was more so like a little. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a little pavilion thingy. Um, if I get to the word, I'll be able to explain it better. But yeah, so climbed in, and next thing I know, there's this vagrant or drug addict or whatever the fuck, uh, getting up and getting like riled up. Why are you in my house? Kind of thing. And he chased me off, and I'm running with my friend into the fucking middle of the night, and that scared me. Uh, Chaos says Sonic. That's the cat's name, Sonic. Okay, that's cool. Why is the cat not blue? Why is the cat not blue? And he says, and she is super smart, 100% understands English. I gave her a piece of popcorn and said, "There's a snack." Less than 5 minutes later, she dropped a dead mouse on my couch. She sounds very smart. She also sounds like a little bitch that says like, "Hey, I'm gonna feed you. You're a bad hunter." My cats do the same. One night, one weekend, my partner came to visit while I was still staying in Kimberley, and she actually noted this awful smell as she got to the house. And I was very busy working back then. I also didn't really clean up that much, so an odd smell didn't really bother me that much. And turns out there was a dead crow or pigeon or some shit that was under my not my mattress, under my bed, the bed footer, and the cat caught it like the same day or the day before, and slid it underneath, and then it started like rotting away, and I didn't really pay attention. I was working very hard, so my mind wasn't all there. And when she cleaned the house on the Saturday, because I only noted the smell like the Friday, and she noted the smell immediately on Friday when she arrived. She's like, "Oh no, it's very bad." And then on the Saturday, she lifted up the bed while I was at work and see this dead fucking bird. So yeah, it's sometimes cats can do some wild things with their prey. But yeah, all right. I think that's me in a nutshell. This is my longest stream yet, and it's been all just a talking stream. But I've had a lot of fun talking about some ghost theories, and I really appreciate everyone tuning in and watching with me, talking with me, and discussing their own ghost stories. It was really exciting to hear some of the old ghost stories, as well as being reminded or yeah, basically reminded. Oh, I wanted to say notified, reminded of some of the old ghost encounters I've had as a child and as a young grasshopper back in the day. So thank you very much to everyone who joined in on tonight's stream. I hope to see you guys again soon. I will be streaming on Tuesday evening at 6 Central African time. So for all of my international bros, if you want to check me out, I will try and stream in kind of like your morning, midday time. I do stream at night in South Africa, but I might be changing up the stream schedule a little bit. I'm just going to try and keep up with the streams as well. I do really enjoy doing this, so I will definitely try and continue doing this. It's a ton of fun, and it's good to get some of these stories out there and record them so I can remember them one day when I'm old and forgetful about things. Then I can reflect back on these. Now, of course, all of these stories could just be massive fabrications. You never know. That's the best part about this channel is the truth is probably not what you think. And the truth is out there. So thank you very much for everyone watching. I hope to see you guys again on the next stream. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, you have a ghost right behind you right now. Thank you very much for watching. It's been me, Mac, or Cubbage, or Cubbage. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Have a good evening or a good day. See you again soon. Peace.